50 cents less, 50 cents per barrel. Where are you going to
sell you the oil. Okay.
No, they can't go anywhere else with it, Bill.
They have to stop, say, California. That exposition devolves into violence.
I was walking out with our Trump sign. He grabbed my Trump sign and started following me. Saying I was like a racist and stuff.
San Jose Police Department did not do enough to protect Trump's supporters. Still his duties, to say the least.
The notion that there was some stand-down order is ridiculous. I don't have the authority to give a stand-down order. I would never give such an order anyway, and I know that our police chief would never accept one.
And joining us now from Louisville, Kentucky, where he's covering the funeral of the House Fox News correspondent Jonathan Hunt, who was on the scene in San Jose last week. First of all, what's the update on the arrest, Jonathan?
3 more arrests, Bill, in the last 24 hours. That brings the total to 6. Police in San Jose say they are still looking for others and plan to make more arrests. By the way, of those last 3, 2 of them were just 16 years old. 1 was 17, and that certainly reflects what we saw on the streets that night, Bill, that a lot of those who were protesting, a lot of those who were causing the violence, a lot of those who were involved in the attacks on Trump supporters were not even out of high school, Bill.
Okay, now we saw a bunch of Mexican flags in the montage we used, but the arrest sheet is all over the place. A couple of Hispanic names, but not all. And it looks like the only thing they had in common was they're all under 20 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that the vast majority of those we saw on the streets that night were under 20, many of them as well as over.
All this as a new Fox News poll shows the race tightening big time nationwide. Clinton is only 2 points ahead of Sanders. Last month, she led by 13 points. And in New York, a separate Siena poll shows her lead over Sanders is shrinking to 10 points. Okay, Mr. Speaker, so Hillary Clinton, even though a lot of folks believe that she's the inevitable nominee, Bernie Sanders is giving her a real run for her money, and it was fun to watch someone actually challenge her.
Well, I think if Sanders had been this tough 2.5 months ago, you might be in a different race, because there's so many the Clintons have this marvelous capacity to invent a pretend world and then simply tough it out when people suggest to them that it doesn't exist. So she gets a fairly large amount of money to go give a secret speech, but after all, you shouldn't really ask her to tell you what she told the big banks when they paid you a lot of money, because after all, it was only a secret speech and it was only to the big banks and it was only a lot of money, and how could you even be concerned about it? And this Clinton technique has worked now for a quarter century. It doesn't matter what they do, they just tough it out. She will probably be the nominee, but every day that this goes on, she gets weaker.
But what do you think about the Sanders supporters? I mean, you look at it, he's winning with young voters, first-time voters, independent voters, and sometimes even with women. So if the superdelegates, who are largely in her corner, fall in her camp and stay in her camp, and she has her coronation, what happens to those Sanders voters?
Depends probably on what Sanders does. I mean, this is going to go on for a while longer, and one of the things that happens is you listen to your own rhetoric. So you could get to a point where Sanders can't endorse him. Now, he's not there right now, and I think considering the alternative is Cruz or Trump, the odds are pretty high he will endorse her. The second thing is there are things hardening about her, and then people talk about how many people aren't going to vote for, say, Donald Trump or Cruz. It's also a large block of Democrats who aren't going to say they won't vote for Hillary. And you can imagine a younger person really trying to decide, do I really want this in the White House for the next 8 years?
I loved the fight about the minimum wage. Oh my gosh, that was fun. But I have to tell you, I did a little fact checking to see just how much Bernie Sanders Trump's attack on her for now supporting the $15 minimum wage was. And she has, on her website, and this has been here for quite some time, she supported raising the federal minimum wage to $12 and believes that we should go further than the federal minimum wage